Hello, this is Supernova Jink UFO, and today we're gonna do another Scratch tutorial. Now, I apologize, this is very late. I was unable to. I did another program or another tutorial, but I watched it and it was really bad, so I deleted it because this was supposed to be both factual and encouraging to new scratchers to say that this stuff is kind of simple and that it can be done. And it was over an hour, and it really looked like it was hard. So that's not really what it's supposed to look like. Now, but I just want to tell you, one of or part of the way Scratch works is that you're gonna come up with a lot of problems. And what you should do is you should experiment around and try new things. And most importantly, look at other people's projects. Look at projects that are similar to what you're trying to make. And look at how they do something. What? Um, okay. If I don't know if you guys can see this. Okay. Um, but dang, I forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, see the project that they have and see how they do the things that you're having trouble with. And that's the important part. I see a lot of new scratchers just say, I don't really understand how to do this. Help me, please. What's wrong with Scratch? It's okay to do that, but it's also a very good idea to just do the research yourself. Look at the way other people have done their projects. It's not really as intimidating as it may seem at first. I've experienced this just like you guys have. But I hope these tutorials will also make um, some of the more complicated things uh, even even less intimidating. So what we're going to do today is one of the most basic types of projects in Scratch, and a scrolling platformer. So basically, what we're going to have is we're going to have a little like avatar that's in a world, and the terrain will like scroll out in front of you. You're not going to move. You're not going to change your x coordinates in reality, the avatar, but the terrain will appear to move or will move as you move through the game. And a lot of that's very easy to make, but a lot of people are scared of doing this. So what we're gonna do is first we're gonna delete this guy. I don't like having him. Um, just kind of bugs me. I don't like turning him into the base spread. It's just a preference for me. You can do whatever you want. So we will make a vector ball, a basic vector ball. Wait, ellipse, circle. Okay, so make him black. No racism intended there. And we'll just make him very adjusted to these lines. Like that. Now, also, remember that the lines are important. Wait, no. Hold on. Oh, wait, this isn't bitmap. Never mind. Um, but the lines are what's important. Or you know what? Forget what I just said. Sorry, I'm not a perfect person, as you guys probably know. But so here's our standard player ball thing. So, and what we're gonna do now is I guess we'll make it bitmap a little bit easier. But we'll make a terrain. Now let's make it a different color as the ball. Um, like that. Yeah, that's a good color. Looks like a bit like grass. And it's a bit thin. Yeah, that's good. So we'll draw a line and we'll make it simple. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of ways to do terrain, and there are a lot of techniques for doing terrain. You can even kind of copy and paste little units that are highly detailed, and that's kind of fun. It's it's optional and just an easy way to refine your projects. But this is about making the engine, so we're making the engine, and so we're gonna keep it pretty basic, and we'll also make it so it's touching colors. Whereas, like, if this was highly detailed, we'd have to make it touch the sprite. And if we were to make a ton of them, it would be a really, really long list of this, that, and the other thing. And plus, we'll have to have different clones for the tasks. You'll understand in a minute. I'm moving my hands around, so that's why I'm not like moving my mouse. So we're getting a pretty good green terrain here. Good green bitmap terrain. Yeah, that looks like something achievable. And I forgot to mention, we'll use clones for this because I think clones are a very good addition to Scratch 2.0. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to copy this, and you know what? Now I'll go over the first thing. So basically, I'll show you what we're trying to do. Basically, a more basic version of how this platformer engine is going to work. So basically, we're going to move our guy according to the left and right arrow keys. So if we press the left arrow key, then he's going to move left. And if we press the right arrow key, then we're going to move right. And if we press the up arrow key, then we're going to jump, and we're going to go up a little bit, and then we're going to go back down. So we will make a very simple script and account for the keys. It's not space. We'll make right, okay, left, or whoops, gotta look at what I'm doing to pay attention to that. And I'm not going to explain the up and down just yet, but here we're going to have all the motion. Now, I see a lot of people, and I used to do this too. It's okay to do this, but it's inefficient. So they'll be using these two blocks. And so this causes, if you look at the our little sprite there, if I say move 10 steps, it'll just move like that. I'll do it again. And double click activates the script if you didn't know. But the thing is, it's not actually defined which direction it goes. Now there's this block which is pointing direction 90. So it's 90 degrees to, it means right. We can actually look at this. 90 is right, negative 90 is left, 0 is up, and 180 is down. Don't really have to pay attention to that. And so that causes it to move right, and order of script, this would actually cause it to move right, and then the next time I click it goes left, like this, then that. But if we don't want to do that, we'll keep the function we want to have first on top. So, like this. I don't want to explain this too much to you because I think you'd understand that, but that's very important, and you'll see why it is important. So the problem is it can't really be explained because it's the ball. It's kind of like radially symmetrical. So we'll use this. So it's got direction 90 think that's what we'll need. You know, we don't really need this right now. So we will make the basically the same thing, but we will be changing the variables again, and I'll show you why. Whoops, it's an accident. So we'll do right arrow for positive and left arrow for negative. Then here's where the difference comes in. We'll change the variable, and this could it'll seem important why you're changing the variable in a sec. So we'll say by 5, okay, by -5, and now we'll do the jumping. So I think we might need now. Hang on. Okay, shoot. What happens if I did this? It completely changes it, turns it around. And very confusing stuff. And turned it around again. They actually, in Scratch 2, they have this. So, all around, don't rotate. So, say left, right, for example. This is good if you want, like, visually. So, we'll just make it like that. And turn it that direction. And see, now it's like that. And all around is, again, it's like rotating on an axis. And then finally, don't rotate. Okay, that's weird. Okay, and don't rotate, it should have said don't move at all. I know, they have the same thing, except it's like a user option in Scratch 1. That's where I've learned a lot of this stuff. But, again, this isn't entirely fixed. Probably, for you guys in the future, it'll probably work when you guys use this, but that's not important. This is the kind of method you want to use when you're, say, doing an animation. Or no, doing something that's like, say you have to rotate in a degree, or say just looking like your player is going in different directions. But you don't have to use the move 10 steps thing. You can just use the point and direction. It's much more efficient, and the direction is easily ignorable with these functions. This doesn't matter where this is or which direction, no independent values, it's just straightforward. So the right arrow is pressed, change x by 5, and 5 is positive, so it'll increase its x value. If you can see my x there, it's increasing. So if I were to press the right arrow, it would increase by 5. And if we want it to go left, decreasing the value, so we'd go by -5 or -5. I'm just going to say -5. So try that out. Doesn't look like a platformer much yet. And the movement isn't very fast. We'll make it 10 just for the show you how fast moving 10 steps looks like. Looks a bit blocky, I should say. Looks kind of just flat and chalky or chunky, blocky. And yeah, it looks smooth, but it's slow. And that's one of the problems with this system. And I'll show you guys a refined system, which is, it looks more complicated, but it's more efficient, and it makes a better project. And then we'll make it we'll say, now this is the gravity. So if we are not, and we'll say sensing, touching the color of this guy, then we will change our Y position, which decreasing is down. We'll decrease it by, I'll say 5, so -5. And now we will do an external script, and we don't have to do this for the more refined version. And this is one of the few times in the continually learning game where I'd use this script. But it starts a script. So if you press the space or up arrow key, even when the project's not started, it'll still work. So we will say if touching that color, then we'll repeat 10. Change X, or no, change Y by 5. So let's check. No, that's not working. So we'll make it 50. You know what the problem is? Shoot. There's a lot to this. I haven't used this system in a while. Wait until this key is not pressed. Alright, see, this is the refining of scripts. And it's not working. So, script. And something I like to say all the time. Screw it. When things aren't going your way. That's one of the things you should get used to saying every now and then. So if touching this color, if the key up arrow is pressed, we will try that. Make it 10. Yeah, that makes it better. Now, but as you can see, it looks kind of blocky, and I will make this, I'll make this 50. Or no, that might be very inefficient. Yeah. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I really want you guys to understand. Double the value. So that's pretty good. That right there. So the point of this is pretty much the most basic type of platforming engine. In fact, this is one of the first games on Scratch ran like this. And it's there, it works, but it's very inefficient and probably wouldn't be popular or anything on Scratch, and people are going to ask, what the heck is this? I've seen this. I've seen, the first one of the games that look like this, it was pretty popular. It was known. It was, pretty good. But now it wouldn't get any recognition at all. So what are we going to do? We're going to spice it up. So we'll completely get rid of that. And we'll make a couple variables. In fact, yeah, 2. And so we'll make them velocity variables. So x velocity. Then another one. Y velocity. Vel is short for velocity. And it's important, I did that for the x2, is make this for this sprite only. well, it's not very important, but if you don't want a ton of variables clouding up your area, then each sprite should be assigned certain variables. Keep them at this sprite only. It saves a lot of headache. And trust me, when the projects get complicated, there are a lot of variables. If you don't use a lot of variables, then you're kind of minimizing the potential. Or, you know what, you can use lists and everything, but a lot of variables means a lot of different constants, and which means it maximizes the realism of it. And a good scratcher knows how to use a lot of variables, but don't be intimidating or intimidated. A few variables to make something simple works just as well. Simple like a scrolling platformer. So immediately we'll set the standards, the defaults, x velocity to 0, duplicate, y velocity to 0, so that way it's not moving. And we will get out ifs. I had a little bit of a technical problem there. I have the before thing in case I'm not sure about anything. In fact, you know what? I'll show it to you guys. That's what it looks like. A bit intimidating, but I'll walk you through the entire process of making all of it. It looks pretty bad, I know. I remember seeing this. But I'll walk you through the step of making it. So we'll say if we're touching this color, then we will set y velocity to 0. And it's, very similar. You guys saw what I did just before. If the up arrow is pressed, here's the important part. Instead of changing y velocity by, say, 20, we're going to set it to 20, and that's very important. And it'll be very clear why that is, but we also change y velocity by -2. We'll keep it like that. And then we'll just clear the entire thing up. So the first thing is variables of velocity. So we'll set the velocity, we'll make it so the velocity decreases. So we're going to make it x velocity to to itself, x velocity times 0.7, and duplicate, make that 0.9. And so basically we'll set this to, we're setting this to 7/10 of itself and then 9/10 of itself, so it's decreasing. And this can kind of battle it out. Alright, and now we will change x by x velocity, change y by y velocity. Very important. Notice I said change x and change y, not set x, set y. This is very important. Instead of the velocity variables representing the actual location, it represents the speed. And so basically by changing the right arrow, we're changing the speed, and every second that goes by, the speed decreases, and when it's 0, we're changing x by 0. And so it's always like that. And so it's basically like saying, if the right arrow is pressed, if this wasn't dynamic, then we'll just say set x velocity to 5, and if not, we'll set it to 0. So it's basically the same thing, and we're getting the dynamic in by changing it and not setting. And then we'll make the gravity. No, we don't need to make gravity. So let's test her out. So it looks pretty good. Can't get up there. I will tweak this to 40. That'll double the height that it goes. And it works the same way, because we're setting it to 40. So now it's 40, so it's going to change it by 40. And then every second, the amount decreases, so it's starting to slow down. And then it stops. So we can see that. Basic way of explaining the whole thing. And that's pretty much the engine. And a lot of people are intimidated by this engine because they don't really understand it. In fact, variables can be very uninviting. Like if you see a lot of them, it's like, okay, that's way over my head. And even the more blocks thing, that even makes it more confusing because you gotta search around through the project to actually understand it. I understand why variables are used. They're very important. I don't really understand why more blocks are used, except it maximizes efficiency. I think people just use it. I don't know. You can. I just don't. There's probably some kind of valuable or value that they have that I don't know about. I'm in no way an expert. So what we'll do now is like this is pretty much a legit platform engine other than the scrolling, which we'll make in a bit. But there's a problem. As you can see, it's actually sinking into the ground. And in fact, yeah, it's sinking into the ground. And it can just go through this. It goes through the ceiling, and it sinks into the wall. In fact, you know, to see it, a little simple thing, we can just, now it's at the front, and it'll stay there. So now we can see it going through the wall. It doesn't stick to it. It goes through it. I mean, like you can kind of see it through, like it sticks to the ground because it senses the ground, but it doesn't sense it when it's moving up or side to side. So we'll have to fix that. And I think it's kind of the most efficient, basic way is making these sensors. So we'll duplicate this. Now this is going to be the sensor costume. So we'll convert it to bitmap. And that's pretty ugly, but we're not going to keep it. So we'll make the up sensor. Whoa. It's a bit small. Yeah, that's good. So we'll make the up sensor red. Down is blue. Right is green. No. No. I don't know. There's a color code in my head that each thing, each direction has. That's messed up a little bit. We'll get that out further. That's better. And then we'll draw these to the center. And the blue's next. And the sides. And so basically what this system does is we can get rid of the black now. The erase function. So here's our tests basically. So if this color is touching green, then it's touching a wall in that area. It's touching a wall to the left, I should say. If this color is touching green, then it's touching a wall to the right. If this color is touching green, then it's touching the ceiling. And if this color is touching green, it's touching the floor. So we can now, instead of using this whole black thing, the whole black thing is a sensor, we're using these different colors. And we're going to use clones to actually define them. So the first thing is, we're going to make some more variables, and we'll keep them for all sprites. Up test, down test, right test, left test. Now these are for the all sprites. You can see them from else's. So we're going to say if we are touching, whoops, hold on. Let me pause this. Okay, don't know if it started recording, but sorry about that. Just had to take a call a little bit. So we will resume our operation. So if we're going to do this, color something. So just change that to costume that. You know what, we don't even need to make it shown because it's there. Yeah, so if color red is touching grassy green, then we will make it, or set, delete that for an important reason, up test to 1. Whoops, crap. Blue glitchy. Up test to 1. Up test to 0 if it's not. I deleted those so I could make it easier on myself. So we'll say if that color is touching that color, then that's the down sensor. So down test to 1, down test to 0, and make it right test, so that's green. Then right test to 1, right test to 0, and then finally our yellow color. Left test to 1, left test to 0. Okay, now we're good. Looks pretty much exactly like that. Exactly. Look at this. Exact same script. Anyway. The OCD. Well, there we almost have it, pretty much. Almost a legit touching system, but it's not working. And I'll show you why. Well, it's not really much of an explainable thing, but we have to make it so that this this comes back. So we will add 2 more if blocks, just ifs, not if else's. Technically if thens with Scratch 2.0. if right test equals 1, okay, that left test equals 1, then we will did we set or change? I don't know. I kind of refined it to max efficiency. Okay, change. Change was what we wanted. So we're changing, in fact, shortcut, changing by -5, changing by 5, opposite. Wait. What was the ratio of this to that? That was -3. Okay, so that's, make that by, well, let's just see if that works. So, let's see if it works. Doesn't work yet. I'll make that -7. You know what? We'll change this value. It's okay to tweak values so they don't have to be exactly equal to mine. It's good to do things like that. But now, so yeah, that ratio is working, and y velocity is 1. Important, so that we can actually resist that. It's very important so we don't sink into the land. Okay, so now it appears to be working for us. And it's resisting us. And except, it's still not touching that. But that's a bit the important thing. And we also want to make this kind of equal to the potential down velocity. So there we go. That's, it's a little bit blocky. We can make the down pole 1 if we want. Certain values are better, but it's good to tweak. Don't copy everything I do. Don't feel free to tweak the numbers, tweak the scripts if you want. Tweak the scripts if they seem to fit better for what you're specifically making. Say if you don't want any, test things, you don't have to have that. That's just something a lot of people do. And I don't know, I'll keep that too. Or, that's fine. Totally fine. Falling doesn't have to mimic real life. Does it? Just kidding. Okay, so the very complicated up test. So I need to have a reminder. Up touch. Okay. So I guess the ratio is just a powerful jolt. Okay, so the infamous up touch equals 1, then we will change. Was it set or change? I have a terrible memory. I just can't look at something and then remember it forever. Change y velocity by huge heaping number -14. That was double the amount we had here. And we're going to need that. So let's test her out. Almost. Come on. Come on, work. Come on, work. That's a big number. Sometimes if you move too much, then it gets hectic, chaotic. Yep. Almost. Don't need -14. Let's make it -7 again. That's good. Resist the flow. Resist the flow, man. The numbers are important. In fact, why don't we make it so that this can be more efficient? We will lengthen this. You can't see them from, or you can't see these from another sprite. You can see that. The importance is clones are glitchy. And I really like them, but they're glitchy. So they don't, like, they kind of sense the for my sprite only variables, but they don't really react to them well. So that's why we're using these for all sprites. So we will find this. We will say if or no, make ands. Ands are efficient. The difference is we don't want an and here because there's this variable, but if there isn't an and, then, or if there isn't a value or a function that's not in the next one, then we don't need two ifs. We can just do an and. It's probably, I didn't explain it well, probably, but I think you can see it just by looking at it, that if we had an and, then it would automatically set the value to 0. It would only do that if the up arrow is pressed. I guess what I'm trying to say. So keep this. Now we're gonna add a new function here, or a new Boolean variable, a new true or false. So we're gonna say right test equals 0, which is false, and left test equals 0, which is false. And we're going to replace this, touching that color, with down test equals 1, which is true. And so that's the same thing, but it's not going to work because the sensors aren't actually integrated into it yet. So what we'll do is we'll have the sprite make a clone at startup. Oh, and speaking of startup, very important, we'll center it always. Excuse me. So it'll go to x0, y0. There it is. Okay. Now, yeah, it actually created a clone there. So there was a clone there. And that means it's working. Well, not yet. So, yes, when I start as clone, and basically we're going to be duplicating this script here. See, we could have used an and there, just refining the scripts, that's all. So, on startup, we'll make this guy switch to costume 1. This guy switch to costume 2. This is costume 1, this is costume 2. Very important to know the difference. And so there is an important part to the tests. We want them to exist, but we don't want to see them. So the show and hide are usually what will come to mind. So show is appear. So this is appeared. And if I were to say hide, that would disappear. The thing is, it's not invisible. It's gone. It's not available for use. Nothing will ever sense it. Like if you use the script touching something, then it won't touch that sprite. even if that's where its location is. It's gone. So show brings it back. Now it's solid again. Well, we want it to be invisible and be solid. So what do we do? Well, luckily Scratch has this thing in one of the visual effects, which, visual effects are usually for eye candy, but there's one effect that is very useful for game engine making, and that's the ghost effect. So that pretty much turns it invisible. So ghost effect 0 is completely visible. Ghost effect 25 is a little bit see-through. You can see it a little bit see-through. It's 50% now. Oops. A little bit more, 75, almost there. And 100% 0. So we can set to 0 again. Whoops. That was color effect. Set to 0 again. And set it to 100. And now it's gone. So we're going to set this to 100. And that'll render it invisible. And we'll just say show, because OCD. Always important. So, we're mimicking this. So we will say set up test to 0, duplicate, down test to 0, duplicate, right test to 0, duplicate, left test to 0. And we will say forever. And also, another important thing is we want to record the X and Y positions of this sprite, because the go to certain sprite thing won't work because it's still technically part of this sprite. And that's what's a little bit annoying about clones, so a little bit of extra work, but it's they're fun, and I think they can be a little bit tweaked. Maybe the Scratch team will see this and they say, oh, okay. So we'll make 2 more variables for all sprites, of course, and we'll say sp1x, and also the check mark makes the variables shown. Like, so say if you have like a score, you'll have it checked and then it'll display the score, and we got these show variable, hide variable, kind of like the just regular show and hide, but we'll uncheck these. Pretty much any variable you make, you just uncheck them. That should be default. Scratch team, hint hint. Okay, it's P1 Y. So this is sprite 1 X and sprite 1 Y. So the records of them. So we will always make it so that sp1x is 0, sp1y is 0. Then we'll say it's kind of a reversal of colors. sp1x, sp1y to y position and x position. No real dynamicness. We're just recording where it is. What the? Okay, but as you can see, like we can kind of make the y position resting on this, but we don't have to do that. Like there's, we could reverse these. We could set y position to sp1y and then change sp1y by y velocity, but we don't have to do that. That's just available for us to use. So now here's the important part, so that the clone knows where we are. So go to X, sp1x, Y, sp1y. So it's kind of like, and this function is combining basically this set X and set Y into one block. So it's important. And also this means that you're going to the same exact coordinates. Just in case you didn't know, bet you a lot of them did though. So we're gonna have four ifs. Better. Okay, we lengthened it by 2. 1. We'll keep the sides 1. That's fine. And the down 2. Okay. But the costume center is still smack dab in the middle, and that's where it should be. Okay. So now, I think the down test was fine. It's adjustment. It's an adjustment program. You're supposed to adjust things. That's okay. That's what we love about Scratch. I mean, the old video game programmers, they didn't get this luxury. Less of a hassle. Oh, you want us to say, hey, am I up there? Maybe lengthening it a lot. It's gonna be like terrible for. Yeah, there we go. Okay. You know what? We don't want any bad problems, so keep it. Idea. Okay, remember the colors are everything. Yep. Maybe 7's a bit of a high number. Technically, this stuff is kind of useless. But, yeah, 7's fine. Yeah, okay, that's good. They're compatible. It takes a little bit of tweaking, refining, see what works. That doesn't have to be that long. It's inefficient when it's that long. See, that's 3 long. Okay, I think that's fine. Okay, so we're good. That looks good. And the up test is working pretty much fine. Now, one more thing to mention. We'll make this a good 25. Had no number 5. My phone has no 5. Okay, we can get up there. It's not going to be the highest jumps, but hey, takes a little bit of refining. So, one thing a lot of people like doing is having the wall jumps. So it can be, like, people ask, how do you do the wall jumps? Well, it's very simple. If we have the right test as 1, then we can simply do the same thing, the same code, virtually the same code as the down test. It's touching the wall, but we'll make a few tweaks. And so we'll set the x velocity, the uttermost important x velocity. So let's see, that's right test. So minus 40. It's the ratio. It's the ratio, man. And 40. So it's opposite of left. So let's see if this works. And basically this is what the wall jumping looks like in other projects. You know, it repels you. You kind of have to do this every now and then. But that's basically how you do it. It's very simple and easy. Alright, so you're going, okay, Joe, what about scrolling? Scrolling's important. You said something about scrolling. What is that? Okay, well, now that we have our completed engine for our guy, we need to actually animate this. Otherwise, this sprite could have just been a backdrop. But it's not, because it's going to be animated. I didn't explain that thoroughly. So, we'll just take a quick peek at that, situate ourselves. So I'll show you the uttermost important, or the utmost, what does that mean anyway? The most importance of scroll X. So, forever, we'll set our Y to 0. We'll set our costume to 1. That's important, just because OCD. I don't know, if somebody attempts to edit your project in the project editor, you know, make it so that it's harder for him to edit. Or not, you know. Just glitch free. So, the most important variable in a scrolling engine is scroll X. But I'm just going to call it scroll, because scroll X is if, say, you're going to not only move the terrain this way and that way, but up and down. So I'm just going to call it scroll, because for the sake of it, I'll leave that up there. See, projects do this all the time, or, you know, the older ones, they'd leave scroll up there for some reason, and it's not very appealing to look at. So, what the heck? I'll just show you guys how this works, and then I'll remove it. So, most important thing about scroll, and people don't pay attention to, is that you have to reverse the right and left directions. And I will say why you have to do this. Well, there's an easy kind of way to get around it, but, you know, who listens to easy things? It's a bit simpler and easier to understand if you just reverse the directions. So, scroll X is just like the X position or just scroll for this project. It's just like the X position, only it doesn't move the guy's actual coordinates. It's an illusion. It's a falsification. It's a lie. It's an evil lie set by the devil. No, set by the creator. The opposite of the devil. Devil of Scratch projects. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. So we will set X forever to let's just say scroll. Weird. That's weird. Never had that happen to me before. Oh, I know. Stupid. You see, that's the importance of having the change script. Change. It's important. That's what happens. That's the kind of stuff that happens. There we go. Much better. So as you can see, there's like, oh my god, what the? What is this? The terrain is moving for some reason now. Why is that? First of all, let's get rid of that. It's causing lag. And that's also causing lag. I messed up. I hope you guys can hear me. Okay, we reversed that because you probably saw the problem even if you almost done here. So basically what this script does is, so the absolute value, so basically in other words no negatives turn to positive of x position, so if it's that way or that way, is higher than 460, just a number that indicates that it's not showing, then it'll hide. But if it's lower than them, then it'll show. I'll show you how that works. So basically we don't have that little niche hanging on us, and there we go. It's still there, but it's hidden, and it kind of makes a show thing. If I made this 461, it'll glitch out, but I'll try it. It doesn't do anything. But anyway, so there it is. There's our scrolling, perfectly working platformer engine. What? A glitch. Oh no, it's not a glitch. Yay. I hate glitches. Glitches suck. Suck so bad. I'm one of those scratchers that tends to like to refine everything. Like, I refine everything so it's absolutely glitch free. And so there we have it. We have a pretty much perfect platformer engine. And I will have this out there. In fact, last thing we gotta do is give it a name. So we'll call it Supernova. Whoops. Jinkofo platformer. Yeah, if you can imagine how hard it is to write my name. That's my name in real life. No, it's not. If you've been watching my channel, you'd know what my real name or my real first name is. It's a common name. I'll get my name changed to that. That's a pretty cool name. Not. Okay, so platformer engine. You may remix if you want to for my Scratch tutorial on YouTube. How's that for a title? It was actually this guy. I made the other one, the clone scrolling platform engine. And he said, "Are we supposed to remix this?" And I said, "No. It's for a Scratch tutorial, but I never made it. So I'm gonna make it more clear. You may remix if you want to. That's more important. And for my Scratch tutorial on YouTube." And so, shoot. Okay. So this is here, and let's be really kind to the people that see it. So everything I just explained to you, I'm gonna explain in the form of a comment. What? That thing's in the way. I'll move that down here. Okay. So, add comment here. This is important. Most people liked it. Most people should know to do this. If you make something that's awesome, that works, that's glitch free, scratchers are gonna want to know this. And this has actually been part of Scratch like forever. People don't do this often. I'd like to spread the word, so it makes it a lot easier to understand, so people can learn Scratch. And that's really what I want to do here. So we're gonna say the basic dynamic movement system. It makes a clone then sets the default values of each variable. If arrows are pressed, the velocity is I just heightened, or no, increased. The X, or the scroll, and Y change by the velocity. Okay, there we go. That's a little kind statement. Then we'll say this clone has different colors if a color touches the terrain, then it makes a variable true 1 when a direction variable it says it is green, then it makes it so you can't move that direction anymore. Okay, probably edit that out. But yeah, we're adding comments. It's good. Basically, you should understand, I'm basically summing up what everything does. So, this makes all the clones for the terrain sprites. Finally, the last comment. Treat moves each terrain sprite clone according to scroll. Yeah, sorry I can't spell. I'm a bad speller. It's not part of me. But there we go. There's our project, and it's finished, and it's named. And last but not least, we'll just make it interesting to look at. Show. Whoops. Go to X 0, Y 0. Okay. So that's a good thing to look at when we share a. Get rid of that. And now there is a refined engine that people can basically turn into any project. So I'd like you guys to remix, add your own music, add your own graphics, tweak the scripts a little bit, see what happens, and see what kind of things you can make with this, because it's basically a base engine. So hopefully you guys will do a lot with it. And I'm going to share it. And now she is shared. Share. It was lagging. If it was glitching out. There, that's much better. But that's one of the things that happens if you don't reverse the negatives. I'll show you why that works. So let's say we have it, scroll X is going plus. So if you press the right arrow key, then if we're changing scroll, then this thing's equal to scroll, then it'll go right. If you're making scroll higher, then it'll go right. So it'll technically, you compared to it will go left in the game. So we're going to make it opposite. So if this goes left, then you in the game appear to be going right. Hope that explains it for you. So now we have pretty much the engine. The basic engine of scrolling. It looks kind of stupid, but that happens. Stupid stuff happens. Okay, I'm not going to fiddle around with this. I'm going to get stuff done. Okay, important thing. The default values are important. Set scroll to 0. There. Let me do it again. There. Looks like the start of the game, right? Yep. Also, you can kind of switch when the green flag is clicked with a broadcast. Say, like, if you had a start button, so you clicked it, and then you had the broadcast message 1, and when I received message 1, then it's, the same thing. That's how broadcasts and variables work. But I'm not going to do that. I'll look at this. So basically, we're going to use the original as simply a spawner for clones. We'll keep that over there. So we will hide, I think, it. Set y to 0. Hide, create, or switch to costume 1. Create a clone of myself, and we'll draw the entire map. So duplicate, reverse. Okay, now it feels like it's completed. Then duplicate, wall. Okay, I need another one. So there's going to be 4. So we're going to switch to costume 1, do that, switch to costume 2, do that, switch to costume 3, double it. So we're going to have pretty much like a stadium with walls. So now, and then we'll, yeah, that's good. When I start out as a clone, this is what we're going to do. We're going to show up, and we're going to put a few ifs. If. Leave me alone. If costume, whole reason it's become obsolete. 4. Okay. If costume number equals 1, in other words, this, then we're going to forever set X to scroll X. Get rid of these. if costume number equals 2, then we're gonna say set X to scroll plus times minus 1. So I'm going to say plus 480 times 2 minus 1. Why did I do that? Well, basically there is 480 possible x coordinates in this project. There is that times infinity possible scroll coordinates. So every costume is made up, it has a width of 480 if you guys are doing it right. So just to scroll, then it's already shown. But if we're doing scroll, so say the one over here, the one that's technically gonna come in next, so that's 480. So it's plus 480 times 2, which is that's costume 2, minus 1, so it's 1, and it makes everything a little bit easier on the brain. You don't have to do this, but it's a lot of mental math that you have to do, and I'm a bit lazy. So again, a lot of this luxury stuff is optional. Then for costume 3, say 3 minus 1. Look at that. It's just a little tweak you gotta do. And then for costume 4, then we're gonna actually have 1 minus 1s because it's gonna be negative, and it's the wall. So let's see. That is okay. It's not working. So I'm gonna figure out why this happens. Let's see this. Plus 480 times negative 1. Costume equals 1 sex to. I'm not highly sure about this, but I'm going to try it. Oh, shoot. Never mind. I see the problem. 1 minus 1 is 0. So that's basically going to take the place of the first one. So we're going to make 0 minus 1. So it's the one behind the first one. So there we have it. Little thing though, they kind of stick to the walls on the Flash player. But, I will show you how to get rid of that. But ultimately, that is our engine. We have a little stadium to exist in. Poor guy. Poor ball. Bouncing. No attempt of escape. It's a bit hopeless. But that's our project. And it all disappears when we're done. A bit hard to work with, but it's kind of all behind us. So we have this script. And basically, so I'll duplicate it. I'll replicate it. So if absolute of x position is higher than or is lower than 460, then we're gonna show, not we're gonna hide. and we'll just duplicate that. And it's kind of looking identical, but that's the